The 2007 Formula One season is well remembered for the intense competition between Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso, both driving for McLaren. What's interesting is that Hamilton, a rookie back then, scored an impressive 109 points, the same as the seasoned Alonso. This marked one of the greatest rookie performances in the history of Formula One. But here's the catch. Hamilton's success came at a cost for Fernando Alonso, a two-time world champion. Was Lewis Hamilton's achievement somehow linked to manipulating Fernando Alonso's career? Let's find out. Alonso's journey to McLaren kicked off on a podium in Brazil in 2005, just after he clinched his first world title with Renault. As they waited for the ceremony, Dennis, the head at McLaren, casually asked Alonso if he'd ever want to drive for McLaren. For Alonso, who had, since childhood, idolized the McLaren Hondas of legends like Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna, this wasn't just small talk. What began as a fleeting thought morphed into serious talks, leading to a winter deal that would see Alonso don the McLaren racing suit for 3 years, starting in 2007. Entering McLaren as a double world champion, Alonso was a force to be reckoned with. He ended Michael Schumacher and Ferrari's 5-year dominance in Formula One. First, he battled it out with Raikkonen in a faster but quite fragile McLaren in 2005. Then, he went head-to-head with Schumacher in 2006. After Schumacher called it quits, Alonso became the new big shot in Formula One. But, and there's always a but, things started going south with his new team, McLaren, right from the beginning. Alonso, the big shot, joined McLaren, expecting royal treatment. He soon found out that McLaren wasn't exactly on the same page. The drama kicked off in Australia, the season's opener. Hamilton, with a bold move, overtook Alonso in the first corner, making a statement that he was here to compete. Although Alonso reclaimed his spot in the pits, finishing second behind Raikkonen's Ferrari, it was clear that McLaren's internal dynamics were shifting. Next up was Malaysia, where Alonso secured a victory. However, Hamilton's impressive performances caught global attention and notably made Alonso uneasy. Lewis's dad, Anthony Hamilton, energetically advocated for his son with Ron Dennis and Martin Whitmarsh. Meanwhile, Alonso pressed Dennis to rethink having both drivers compete against each other. The mix of competition and internal disagreements created a tense situation. In Bahrain, Dennis tried to boost team morale with a visible, supportive chat with Alonso. Sadly, this attempt to maintain harmony backfired, exposing the deep divisions within the McLaren team. By the time the championship reached Hungary, tensions had reached their peak. Dennis and Alonso hardly spoke, and 6 races after Monaco, the drivers were in a close battle in the championship. Hamilton was just 2 points ahead of Alonso. In the final qualifying session that year, the process was a bit strange. Drivers began with the fuel they intended to use in the race. They did what they called fuel burn laps before setting their lap times for the grid. Before the race, they could refill their tanks with the fuel used during those fuel burn laps. This system had the potential to create tension, especially in a team with 2 drivers vying for the championship. There were 2 tricky parts to this. First, the amount of fuel during the final qualifying laps could really impact a team's success. More fuel made the lap time slower. Second, figuring out the best time for the first pit stop in the race added another level of difficulty. To make things more complex, there was a rule that 2 drivers from the same team couldn't pit on the same lap during the race. McLaren's response to this strategic challenge was an attempt at balance. In Hungary, they aimed to alternate fuel strategies between Alonso and Hamilton. The plan was straightforward. Alonso, leaving the pits first, would execute more fuel burn laps, providing him with a lighter car for the final qualifying run and more fuel for the initial stint of the race. But things didn't go as planned. Hamilton, ignoring what the team told him, went ahead out of the pits, leaving Alonso in a tough spot. Recognizing the setback, Alonso came up with a smart move. During the fuel burn phase, he intentionally slowed down, pitting before Hamilton. This set the stage for an intense qualifying session. After the first qualifying laps, Alonso was in the lead on the road, and the team planned to service Alonso before Hamilton in a stacking strategy. However, Alonso cleverly delayed leaving after getting his tires fitted. This ensured Hamilton wouldn't have enough time for a second lap, securing Alonso's pole position. The aftermath was rife with tension. Hamilton's father lobbied for Alonso's punishment, leading to a steward's decision of a 5-place grid penalty for Alonso. But before that, we know you wouldn't want to miss out on more exclusive content like this. So, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel to stay updated with all the latest in the world of Formula One. Let us move on. In a revealing insight into the tumultuous events of the infamous Hungary 2007 qualifying, Chris Hesse, Fernando Alonso's former chief mechanic at Renault, shared a perspective that peels back the layers of behind-the-scenes manipulation happening in McLaren at that time. According to Hesse, Ron Dennis, McLaren's head, orchestrated a plan by bringing in Lewis Hamilton as a young driver, aiming to cut costs on experienced drivers. Hesse alleges that Dennis changed the planned scenario to favour Hamilton, disrupting the equilibrium within the team. Allegedly, Alonso, who was supposed to have an extra qualifying lap compared to Hamilton, ended up with penalties and a manipulated race day scenario. According to Hesse, Alonso knew he was being deliberately held back because Dennis was changing what should have happened to help Hamilton benefit from it at Fernando's expense. The manipulation, as claimed by Hesse, extended to the physio acting as Fernando's pit board, signalling when to exit the pit box. Realizing the orchestrated tactics, Alonso took a stand, declaring, "I'm not going to allow this." Hesse argues that the entire scheme aimed to boost Hamilton's career, with Ron Dennis heavily investing in Hamilton's education and Formula Junior races to mold him into McLaren's driver. While there have been many speculations about the Hungary events, Fernando Alonso recently shared his viewpoint. These revelations shed light on the complex dynamics and power struggles within the McLaren team during the 2007 Formula One season. Alonso shared a surprising revelation, saying that McLaren, his own team, intentionally used old tyres during an important qualifying session. According to him, they did this on purpose to make him perform poorly. Expressing his frustration, Alonso stated, "No one heard my version, or the truth, or the facts. I said that I never hold anyone. They just gave me old tyres when it was qualifying." Adding to the intrigue, Alonso hinted at a secret team radio transcript that could unveil more details about the contentious events. He raised questions about the transparency of the process, pointing out that the steward's decision mentioned a penalty for an article that didn't even exist. Even though McLaren didn't officially protest against Alonso, some senior team members reportedly complained to the FIA about what he did at the Hungarian GP. Alonso states, "It was my team putting a protest against myself, which is the first time in the history of the sport." The morning after the controversial events in Hungary in 2007, Fernando Alonso was still simmering with anger. He had been cautioning Ron Dennis for a while that the intense rivalry with Lewis Hamilton might not be in the team's best interest. The pattern was clear. They were both losing points, and the Ferrari drivers were dangerously close. Alonso felt they were jeopardizing a title they should rightfully win. Deciding it was time to make a move, Alonso, along with his manager, Luis Garcia Abad, arranged a meeting with Dennis just hours before the next race. The relationship between Alonso and Dennis, already strained since the Monaco Grand Prix, hit a breaking point during this meeting. However, what Alonso said next ensured that he would be leaving the team at the end of the year. In a bold move, Alonso reportedly threatened Dennis. He said if the team didn't do what he wanted, he would reveal emails he had that were related to the Spygate case. This case was about McLaren avoiding penalties when one of their engineers had a document with nearly 800 pages of secret Ferrari technical information. As expected, Fernando Alonso moved on from McLaren at the end of the season, but his career never reached the height it was once at. What's your thought about how McLaren treated Alonso? Let us know in the comment section below. That will be all for today's video. Thanks for staying tuned. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and notification bell so that you can always watch more amazing videos like this. See you in the next video.